Now imagine a world where time wasting doesn't exist, where counter-attacks aren't stopped by deliberate fouls, where players who dive are properly punished. Of course, it's Symbins. I think yellow cards are probably the most pointless thing in the modern game now. They're rarely a long-term punishment. It's not very often you see 2 yellows turned into a red, which means that players can get away with dissent, with time wasting, with diving, and that could all be eradicated with a 10-minute Symbin, which is what I'm proposing, a 10-minute Symbin for most yellow card offences. There'd be 2 exceptions. Goalkeepers, because you can't have outfield players going in goal for 10 minutes, however entertaining that would be. And celebrations. I don't care if you're Ryan Giggsing it down the pitch or Emmanuel Adebayoring it in front of old fans. I don't care about that. But stuff that kind of is aimed at cheating in the game or dissent to the referee, I think should result in a 10-minute Symbin. And you'd also get plenty of 11 on 10s, 11 on 9s, 10 on 10s. So it'll make the game more entertaining.
Why can't you have outfield players going in goal? If you're going to do it, go the whole hog with it.
Carrie, I love your enthusiasm, and I'm quite sad that I've been so reluctant. I've really put the brakes on what is a sensational idea. Stuff it. Let's change it. Let's put outfield players in goal. I mean, some of them are quite good. Kyle Walker seemed to have a good stint. Harry Kane less so. I remember seeing an advert where Wayne Rooney was quite decent as well. You're right. If we're going to make football more entertaining, why not let outfield players go in goal? Because it means keepers wouldn't take time over time wasting. So as you can see, my argument's already disintegrating. But we'll say not disintegrating. We'll say evolving.
Evolving, good word. Yeah.
From my point of view, I'm someone who plays amateur level football where Symbins have been introduced, and I actually played in a game last season where my team was temporarily reduced to 9 men due to Symbins, and then we actually had a man sent off. So for a little bit, we were down to 8 men, which was not as catastrophic as you may think. My concern is that if you're bringing in Symbins for simulation and stuff like that, are you then going to bring them in for abuse to the referee and the officials as well?
Yeah, 100%. I think anything that kind of blights the game. The weird thing about yellow cards currently is the suspension is kind of delayed. So you could pick up 5 yellow cards against Tottenham, Burnley, Bournemouth, Newcastle and Arsenal, and then serve the suspension, your 1-match suspension against Manchester City. Like, why should they win a suspension lottery? It just makes no sense. Give the reward to the team that's had an attack brought down, has had someone try and cheat against them by diving.
Remember the Battle of the Bridge, where Tottenham had 9 players booked? I think it could lead to a ridiculous situation where, there's literally no one on the pitch, A. And B, you say, it'd be great to have 10 on 9, but I don't think it would. Because actually, it fundamentally teams played, and teams are set up and trained and coached to play 11-11. And I think, it's fine if it goes to 10, if it goes down to 9 men for the whole game because someone's done something absolutely savage and needs to be sent off. But if you're doing it in the middle of the game and it's changing all the time, I just think it completely impacts on the flow of the game, and actually it will make it less entertaining.
So I think if you see it in rugby, where you have 14 on 15 quite often, it's more entertaining. You have one team really trying to press back and trying to hold on for 10 minutes. In ice hockey with power plays, it's worked successfully. No one knows how it would work in football. I mean, it's obviously been trialled in youth level. I just think it'd be a really interesting experiment to see. You're right, maybe 8 on 8 wouldn't be entertaining, but I think the idea of teams having to sacrifice attackers for defenders, or actually saying it's 8 on 8, let's just keep 5 attackers on and see if we can score 4 goals in this time, I think that would make for a much more entertaining prospect.
Can I just pick up on what Marcus said about this Battle of the Bridge game? Because actually that got me thinking just then. In derbies, I worry then that you would maybe see a slight reduction in the passion and aggression that is what makes derbies great. Because then if players are worried about costing their team for 10 minutes or so, and in a derby in particularly when you have players flying in quite regularly, and obviously no one wants players to get hurt, but what often makes the derby special is those really robust, difficult, hard challenges. And I think you might lose that if players are starting to get worried about they'll be off the pitch for 10 minutes or so, whereas in the past you have a lot of teams who are tactically very good at sharing the yellow cards around to ensure that they are still trying to put their stamp on the game but without losing players.
Plus as well, I think you've got here the addition of VAR. Does VAR come into it and deciding Symbins? Because if it does, I mean, that would be...
No VAR for obvious reasons. It slows the game down. This is just, and I think in derbies it's a fair point, but then I think it's down to the referee to kind of gauge the atmosphere and actually say, because often they say, oh, he lets the first one go, and maybe it is a case of that, just kind of being a bit more relaxed.